New format, new setup in the garage, same old microphone. So I've totally failed in that respect. My apologies to everyone who was like, he's going to sound so much better on a new mic. I probably won't. Who knows how this is going to work, how this is going to sound, what kind of weird sounds you're going to hear from outside. I've moved to the garage again, but this time I'm putting it in a different direction. I don't know if there's going to be any like echo from the corner or anything. There probably will be. I don't know. Might make me sound nice, which would really be something, wouldn't it? So, yeah, let's talk. It's been almost 2 weeks. So this time of year is always bad for, dads who are trying to keep their kids from getting sick. I had both of them sick last week. The wife is sick. She's been sick for almost a week now. I have been able to dodge it so far, although my Aura ring tells me that I'm like on death's door. So I don't know. Technology is overrated, I think, sometimes. Anyway, yeah, you spend all this time trying to keep your kids healthy, and you try and feed them right. They don't like anything that you make for them. That's like the rule. And then they get sick, and then they're whiny. And unlike my mom, Emily allows them to stay home, which I think is a direct. That's because we're here. We're here to take care of them. When I was a kid, if my mom didn't work, we didn't eat. And so there were no school absences, because if I was absent from school, she would have to stay home from work to take care of me. So I didn't miss my first school day until I was in high school. That's only partially true. I missed half a day once in the winter of my 8th grade year. We had moved to a little tiny house in a very tiny place in Texas, and the pipes froze, and my mom pulled me out of school to buy a space heater, run it under the house, and attempt to thaw the pipes. And so I spent the day crawling underneath the house in like negative degrees Fahrenheit weather. I don't remember how cold it was. It was cold. And I was belly crawling in underneath the house, and it was not a lot of fun. But I got the pipes thawed, and we had water again. And you don't realize how much you need water until you don't have access to it. Anyway, that was like the first time I missed school. I was in 8th grade. But my kids get to miss school from time to time when they're sick, because you know what? You shouldn't expose the other kids to your sick kids. This is how we take care of each other. I'm pointing out my mom was kind of like not exactly the paragon of wisdom in this situation, but also we didn't have the kind of money that you could miss a day at work. So like she didn't miss work either. So it is what it is. It's been a rough 2 weeks for me. The political news has been horrible. My puppy is going through her first heat cycle, which is awful. And our vet is like super concerned about cancer in dogs based off of when they get spayed. So she's convinced me that I need to wait until my dog is 2 years old to have her spayed, which is just, I question this decision basically every day. But I also, I don't want my dog to get cancer. And apparently there's like an 11% chance because of her breed. And anyway, so I got a dog that's, going through it. And it's her first time, so she doesn't really know what's going on. So she's eating a lot of ice cubes. We'll just put it that way. And to make a long story short, I have not been able to get away to record. And I'm doing it right now, in spite of the fact that I still have a very sick. Well, she's not as sick as she was. She's been better today. Still have a sick kid inside. She is watching some cartoons and giving me about 45 minutes of time where I can just unload for a minute. And that's what I'm going to do. That's what I need to do. I am stressed. A lot of people are stressed. We're stressed for tons of reasons. Everybody has stress in their lives. You may have coworkers that you dislike. You may not like your job at all. That's entirely possible. It happens a lot, actually. You may have neighbors that you disagree with. You may have family members that are always annoying and on your nerves. There's all kinds of things that could stress you out. Your economic situation, you haven't saved enough for retirement, for example. That has nothing to do with me, except everything to do with me. There are all these things that can cause stress in your life. And then you turn on the news and you find out that they're making massive cuts to Medicaid and Social Security and the social safety net that you're going to depend on later on in your life, that you've been paying into your entire life, that you're not going to get the benefits from anymore. You tune into the news and you see yet another plane accident, failures on landings, failures on takeoffs, and what does the news say? They continue to fire air traffic controllers and FAA analysts and people who study these things to make sure that they don't happen. And you know what? I wouldn't get on a fucking plane right now if you gave me first class tickets. Nope, pass. Not in this fucking country. Are you kidding me? How about laying off, firing like 30%, I forget what the number was, but it was a whole lot of people in the Department of Energy, which it turns out includes all the people who manage our nuclear weapons stockpile. And we just laid them off. We fired them. They fired a whole bunch of people. Most of the layoffs happened at a place called Pantex, which is in the Texas Panhandle. And they're responsible for nuclear warheads, creation and storage of nuclear warheads. Are you serious? Maintenance of those people got laid off, and the Texas Panhandle is like one of the most hardcore conservative areas in the nation. So if you think that your job with the federal government is safe, or a company that contracts with the federal government is safe because you voted Republican, think again, my friend. Think again. There is this thing, and we're going to talk about this. This is today's topic. I want to get into this, and then I'm going to talk real briefly about a Napoleon quote. The topic today is Elon Mush. Leon Mush. I don't think I'm allowed to say his real name. If you say it 3 times when you're looking in a mirror, he appears behind you and cuts off your government benefits. Not that I have any right now. I'm just trying to make a joke. Anyway, this is the richest man in the world, whose entire fortune is tied to an electric car company whose value is actually wildly overinflated. And I can't really tell you why. I think that the value of Tesla stock is abnormally high because there's so much potential. Or maybe it's because they actually have a really clever name named after the physicist Nikola Tesla. It certainly isn't because the Cybertruck is winning, any kind of awards. It's a big giant piece of crap. But Tesla's stock is wildly overrated, and that allows. And then there's SpaceX. Who can forget SpaceX? SpaceX is this company that's owned by Elon Musk, who they shoot rockets into space, and in order to shoot rockets into space, you do kind of need approvals. It's dangerous business shooting rockets into space because what happens is they explode and they rain litter all over, airline flight paths and things like that. That happened. That's something that actually happened in, I want to say it was November. And, the head of the FAA at the time, wanted to, they fined Elon Musk. I think it was $600,000. It was the amount of money that he probably has, in the floorboards of his Cybertruck. You know how when you drop change and it ends up under the floorboard, or in the mats, under the mats of your car? Like he's probably got $600,000 in there. He fired they fired the head of the FAA. They forced him to quit. The instant that they got control of the government, because Leon doesn't like being told that he's not allowed to shoot rockets whenever he wants, and he has to be safe about it and things like that. He doesn't like that shit. So they fired the guys that keep us safe when it comes to air travel. Now, why? How did all that happen? How are they still firing people? I want to talk about Leon Mush and his Department of Government Efficiency. And what is efficiency? Efficiency is making systems work at their optimum. In other words, the least amount of energy, or in this case, the least amount of money required to get those same results or better results. That's what efficiency is. We're driving towards spending less to get more. And apparently Leon's version of efficiency is to just fire everyone all willy-nilly and then let the thing just kind of sputter along, whether it be his social media platform that he wildly overpaid for that is now valued at around 1/10 of what he paid for it. It's Twitter, okay? It's still Twitter. Fuck you, Leon. He just fired everybody that worked at Twitter, and the site just kind of limps along with it's rudderless now. There's no enforcement. They just stopped enforcing harassment rules, and the bots are crazy. It is a bad place to be, so bad that I deactivated my account after 10 years of being on Twitter. And it was a platform that I really enjoyed. I loved getting my news from there because it was always so fast and to the point, especially, breaking news from around the world. It was easy to get a hold of that stuff. And that was a nice place to go get it. Now I'm on Blue Sky, which is a Twitter clone. That doesn't function exactly the same way, but it's very, very moderated, and it is run on a nonprofit model, I believe. If it isn't, they're doing a terrible job of selling ads because there aren't any. At any rate, I digress. Leon Mush thinks that efficiency is running things with AI and a skeleton crew. And I've got bad news for Leon Mush. Efficiency implies that the agency or the company or whatever it is that you're making more efficient still produces what it was initially designed to produce. Efficiency means we get all those planes to where they belong safely every time for less money. Or we spend the same amount of money and just improve our safety record even more. It is not, I fired a whole bunch of air traffic controllers and now we have poor safety records and planes are crashing left, right, and center, or having issues on takeoff, having issues on the tarmac. That's all air traffic control. When two planes hit each other on the tarmac, we are living in this weird fantasy land where efficiency has been redefined as Leon Mush gets to eliminate whatever he doesn't like. That's what it boils down to. Well, I don't like that. I don't get it. So I'm eliminating it. And Donald Trump has enabled him to do that. And this is what I really want to talk about. My beef with this situation is that there is no Department of Government Efficiency. It's not real. It's not a real fucking thing. That's not how you create a government department. You don't just sign a piece of paper and blam, you have it, and it's funded, and it has offices, and there's setups or there's a complete understanding of where the oversight is and what the department oversees. That's a big thing. Especially with something like this, that they're giving them full access to all the computers and all kinds of financial information, including from the IRS itself. All of our tax information. If you've ever gotten a direct deposit from the IRS for your tax return, Leon Mush and the Dogebags now have your bank account number, the routing number, and could, in theory, pluck whatever they wanted out of it. They can audit whatever they want. That's really, really something, isn't it? And we don't know anything about what they're doing because they're completely opaque and they won't tell you what they're really doing. We're getting this from sources, from people who get fired. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people have lost their jobs because Leon Mush and the Dogebags don't understand what they do and they don't care. People from the people who keep you safe when you fly from place to place. Again, I ain't getting on a fucking airplane for the next 4 years. To people who inspect meat. Yeah, they got laid off too. To the people who conduct studies at the Centers for Disease Control to prevent the next pandemic. One of the first things that the new HHS Secretary Robert F. Brainworm Kennedy Jr. did was fire a whole bunch of people who are working on preventing the next pandemic that may already be at our doorsteps. Hello, bird flu. You wonder why your eggs are so fucking expensive? Bird flu's not under control. It's raging it's also into cattle now. So imagine what happens when your beef becomes as expensive as your eggs. It's around the corner. It's around the corner. And the one mandate that this administration actually had was to make things cheaper, which for the record was stupid. The prices do not go down. Once the corporation gets you hooked on something and it's like, if it's a commodity, you can see it coming down a bit because there'll be some competition, especially small competition. Eggs, for example, could, in theory, come down quite a bit. But you need a supply of eggs. Without it, prices are going to remain high. Same with beef. See, in order to curb bird flu, you have to, you kind of have to eliminate all the carriers of the illness so that they don't pass it from bird to bird, from bird to cow, from cow to cow. Oh, dear Lord, you see where this is going. And we've laid off the people who are working on attempting to curb that from happening. Oh, this feels like a real good idea. It's right up there with stopping all of USAID's work. I talked about this in the last pod, that our Agency for International Development has been basically shelved, the whole thing. And they're going to absorb it into the Department of State. All of these things, by the way, are fucking illegal because these departments were created by laws. Laws. And if you want to get rid of them, you have to repeal the law. You have to pass a new law that says that old law, that doesn't exist anymore. That's what repealing a law does. But they're not repealing the law. They're just doing it. They're doing it by what's called fiat. Basically, the dictator has decided, I want to get rid of this stuff. Actually, he doesn't decide anything. Let's all be honest. The only thing missing when you look at Donald Trump is Leon Mush's hand up his ass, because that's what's going on. Leon is the president of the United States right now, which is pretty wild, because when you have like 14 kids from 4 moms, and which is, it's okay. You could do that, but you should probably, I don't know, spend some time being a fucking dad. When you have that many kids with that many moms and you're sitting on $500 billion in personal wealth, shouldn't you just like get a hobby or something that doesn't involve like taking money out of the mouths of the poorest nations on the planet that we provide help for through USAID? $2 billion of USAID money is spent on food, like basic crops like wheat and soy and corn and other things like that. Why? Where do they get that food? They're not buying it in Africa. They're buying it from United States farmers. $2 billion in United States farm sales has gone because they've stopped USAID. They're going to stop feeding poor, hungry children so that the richest among us can have another tax cut. So, and they did it all illegally. The Department of Government Efficiency, which is not real. It's not even fucking real. It has no power. It has no oversight. They shouldn't have ever been allowed into a government building. They have no security clearances. Yet here they are just running around willy-nilly doing whatever they want, breaking unbelievable numbers of laws, and no one is even fucking stopping them. They're trespassing at the least. Where is the pushback from simple law enforcement? Not even the feds. Where is the pushback from the Republican Party? From people who have been elected to take care of their constituents, who are now turning around and looking at those constituents losing their benefits for no reason aside from a massive tax cut that they want to give to the wealthiest among us. That's what all this is about. A made-up group slashing the budget. And for the record, if they slash this budget down to fucking nothing, just a skeleton of what we're doing as a country, these departments, it's going to amount to 4 or 5% of the annual budget. Over 70% of our annual budget is just 4 things. It is Social Security. It is Medicare/Medicaid. It's the same program. The Defense Department, which they never cut. We can only spend more money on defense. We can never, ever cut defense. And interest payments on our debt, on our held debt, which you can't get around. So there's just the 2 things that they can cut, Medicare and Social Security. And they've released their first budget plan, the House has, and it includes $2 trillion in budget cuts to Social Security and Medicaid and Medicare. And here's the fun part, and that doesn't even cover the cost of the tax cuts themselves. This plan that they put forward will add $25 trillion to our national debt, which is already at $38 trillion. I believe it's 38. Can you imagine that? People who told you that they cared about these things are now going to increase the national debt, but to levels like it's already bad. Joe Biden was actually reducing the deficit every year, which is really impressive because he was coming out of a pandemic and spending money on the side to do it, like with things like a $10 trillion infrastructure act that we still haven't seen the benefits of yet. It's just starting. Those projects are just starting to break ground. Leon Mush, and the Dogebags have no actual authority. And if they have actual authority as granted by the President of the United States, they have to set that up through the appropriate channels. And that's the thing about this administration. They're not interested in the appropriate channels. They just want to break everything. And in the process, they're also ignoring court orders, which, hey, if this isn't a constitutional crisis, I don't know what is. This is a bad time in this country. It's a bad time in this world. There are quote-unquote peace talks going on in Saudi Arabia between the United States and Russia over Ukraine. And guess who's not invited? The Ukrainians. What? That's right. We are going to carve up Ukraine on their behalf and hand them over to Vladimir Putin. Now, I got a sneaky suspicion that Zelensky and the European Union, the people in Europe who would be further endangered by a peace plan that appeases Putin, will not be kosher with this. And they're not. They're really upset. And they should be. The people of Ukraine are not going to give up. They're not. And they shouldn't. You wouldn't if you were in their shoes. If you were in their place, you wouldn't either. You wouldn't be able to forgive the atrocities that have been handed out to your people. You're not going to get over it. See, this administration is so lawless. It's just so outside the bounds that they just do whatever the fuck they want. And they think that there's no repercussion. And the clearest face of all of that is Leon Mush and the Department of Unicorn and Dragon Poop, or whatever the fuck it is. It's made up bullshit. And it's not even real. If you were to establish a government agency that was designed to look into fraud and waste, first of all, you would have inspector generals at all these major departments, which we used to have, and then Trump illegally fired, for the record. 17 of them. No cause, just fired them. Didn't even replace them, just fired them. That's not saving any money. It's ridiculous. And then the other thing I've got is if you're going to build this department, you wouldn't staff it with a bunch of software fucking nerds. You would staff it with a bunch of forensic accountants. You're chasing the waste of money. You chase that with accountants and people who understand this stuff. Instead, we've got glorified hackers with access to all of our bank information, all of our tax information, all of our phone numbers and email addresses and home addresses. Yep. All of it. And soon we'll have a weaponized Department of Justice to carry out investigations, to arrest whoever they feel like arresting, holding them for as long as they feel like holding them, because they don't have to, bother with the rights of people anymore. Fuck it. We don't have to listen to the courts anymore. We don't have to do the right thing anymore. We don't care. They don't care. Move fast, break things. And in this case, that's the design. The more they break, the happier they are. That's the problem. The Department of Government Efficiency is not real. Leon Mush and the Dogebags have no authority to do what they're doing. And if they do, you have to put it on paper so that we know and that we can have oversight over them. Who the fuck is overseeing them? And if the answer is they're overseeing themselves, if you don't see the problem in that, I can't help you. We're in a bad place, people. And as the newly appointed Associate Director of Public Information on podcasts, which is a title that I just made up on the spot. That's who I am now. Since we're just making shit up, that's who I am. The Associate Director of Information presented on podcasts. I'm warning everyone to pay attention. Pay attention. Pay attention. This is some dark shit. And it's probably not going to get a whole lot easier. Now, with all that said, I do want to get back to that Napoleon quote. We're going to change gears just quickly. It's a quote that's wrongly accredited to Napoleon. We don't exactly know where it came from. We know it was a line in a 1970, I think it was 1970 itself, movie about Napoleon called Napoleon, starring Christopher Plummer, that was bankrolled by the Soviet Union. Now, I don't know if that makes Christopher Plummer a commie or not. I don't know. But that's where this line comes from. And the line is, a man who saves his country violates no law. And that's what Donald Trump, our fearful leader, and Leon Mush, Muppet, tweeted, posted, truthed, whatever he does these days, over the weekend. When he wasn't busy doing a lap at the Daytona 500, costing taxpayers about $3 million. Where were you on that one, Leon? That little publicity stunt, which was fucking ludicrous. You don't need to attend sporting events, dude. Watch him on TV. Every time you go to one of these things, the security needed is so fucking expensive. You're just throwing money away. Anyway, this quote, wrongly attributed to Napoleon, is just a line from a movie, apparently. It's fascism 101. Basically giving the man a carte blanche to break any law he wants, which he already was given by the Supreme Court. But basically, this is like a warning to everyone. Guess what? I'm going to do more illegal shit because in my deluded old-ass mind, riddled with dementia and God only knows what else, I'm going... And if you don't think he has dementia, just think about what it takes to be this vain, to wear those 3-inch lifts in your shoes, to wear those disgustingly tailored suits like you think you look good in that, and look no further than that ridiculous orange bronzer he wears. The man is mentally ill, but he's convinced himself that he is saving our country, and that gives him carte blanche to break whatever rules, whatever laws he wants. It's also, I also want to share what this is, the kind of the expanded version of this. There's a thing called stochastic terrorism. And that is, this is your vocabulary word of the day, kids. Stochastic terrorism is political violence instigated by hostile public rhetoric directed at a group or individual. You know how Donald Trump's always telling us that the press are the enemy of the state, that Democrats are radical leftists, socialists. He even uses the word fascists all the time. He doesn't have any idea what the fuck a fascist is. I mean, he probably does. It's him. He knows that he's a fascist. He just likes to call everybody else fascist because it's all about projection. Every accusation is an admission. It's all projection, baby. All of those things, all of those calls, all of those dehumanizing moments, that's a call to action to the people who follow him, his cult following. That's what it's for. And we're supposed to know about it too. We're supposed to realize it. They're designed to be realized. They're designed they're thinly veiled on purpose, because part of it is the call to action for those who would follow. But the other part is the call to fear for those who don't agree with dear leader. And that is stochastic terrorism. making the public who disagrees with you fearful that they're going to get black-bagged in the middle of the night. That's a terrifying thought, isn't it? Fearful that they're going to have their bank accounts drained. Fearful that they're going to lose their jobs because the Department of Justice decides to plant evidence saying, oh, well, this guy's been embezzling from his company. These are all the mechanisms of an authoritarian dictator who was given the keys to our democracy by a public that was misinformed and angry about something that nobody can fix. See price of eggs. And if you think that Donald Trump is good for workers, the 25% steel and aluminum tariffs that he's levied are causing automakers like Honda and Toyota, who have plants that produce cars right here in America. A lot of those Hondas and Toyotas that you see driving around in America, they came from like North Carolina, or a lot of them come from Michigan or Minnesota. I know that there's plants all over the place. But the cost of doing business in those plants, the cost of one of their primary parts, the ingredients that build a car, one of the primary needs just went up 25%. And so automakers like Honda and Toyota are reevaluating their business strategy in the United States. And that could lead to the closing of plants and the laying off of thousands of workers. But you know what? Trump doesn't care. They don't care. Because they can violate no laws because they're saving the country. Man, that's a scary thought. There's also a flip side to that quote. There are a lot of people who think that this country needs saving from him. I don't think it was wise. I just don't think it was a wise thing to put out there. And I don't think what they're doing is wise. The ultimate check and balance is in the people themselves. And there will be another election. There will be more elections. They are locally administered. Now, these people in the feds may refuse to acknowledge them, in which case we just have a different problem. But the people will have a voice again. The people always do. If you're familiar with history, the people always have a voice. And if you choose to use it, you can be on the right side of history. With that done, I'm going to check out for the day. Cha-ching! Got to go take care of the kid again. She's probably thinking about lunch right now. And I don't know what I'm going to make her. Dad problems. I appreciate all of you so very much. If you made it this far into the show, you're a trooper. You deserve a medal. I don't have medals to give out. Or ribbon. I don't have those to give out either. Well, how about a hearty thank you? I do appreciate you very much. Please, please, please be good humans. It's the very least we can do for each other. And until next time, love you.